Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. If you have a cell phone, if you wouldn't mind turning it off or putting it on vibrate so as not to interrupt the proceedings tonight. And would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And would you please check that you have 3 ballots? They should be numbered, obviously, 1, 2, and 3. If you do not, if you'll bring the ballot that you have back over to the table, and we'll switch it out. Okay, we're here this evening to decide on the proposed public works expenditure, the proposed levy override, and then to approve the 2014 town tax levy to be collected in 2015. Before we get underway, I would like to make a couple comments here, and I want to extend a thank you to my fellow board members, to the Finance Committee members, Diana Wallace, Paul Schwengel, and Fred Anderson, and to our clerk administrator, Bud Combs, and to our treasurer, Janet Johnson. This group has met 12 times over the course of the summer and the fall, putting together the proposed budget. In addition to that, we had a mailing that was sent out, and I assume most everybody got that mailing, explaining the town finances. We also had a focus group of citizens of the town that gave us feedback as to whether what we were presenting was understandable, and I want to thank them as well. What they provided was very beneficial to us. After that, we held 4 informational sessions here at the town hall. Afternoon session, evening session on a Tuesday, afternoon, evening session on a Thursday in October. Those were very well attended, and again, I want to thank those people who came. They asked very good questions, and I think a lot of good information was disseminated. The interesting thing about those, the questions at each of the 4 different meetings were totally different. And I think it was kind of enlightening to those of us who sit on the board and the finance committee. A quick reminder that the hearing this evening is a hearing of the town electors. It's your opportunity to speak to the proposed budget. It is not intended to be a question and answer session at all, and you are asked to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you would mind coming up, identifying yourself, your name, address, and so forth. We are filming this for YouTube, so we can all be on YouTube in the future. Okay, I've asked Administrator Combs to make a couple introductory remarks, and then we'll get into the hearing. Thank you.
Okay. As John said, the information meetings were held on October 21st and 23rd, so the board could explain what the board and the finance committee were thinking and receive input from the public, and those meetings were posted on the website and the town posting places. The starting point back in July was an $800,000 override on the cap, which has been whittled down to now just over $500,000. The main goals in these meetings and developing the budget were to pay off the debt, which now is over $600,000 per year, and maintaining the roads in light of the $5,000 per mile public works cap set by the legislature. Among the other things, 2 parks and harbors and the general government all factored in. And this is all supposed to be done within a levy cap this year of $1,614,394. The board has to work under this levy cap. The Department of Revenue has a formula which I put up here as simply as possible to explain it to everybody. What we do for this year we start with last year's levy of $1,574,000. Take out our debt payment, and now what we're doing this year is we're taking out our payment on the called bond because we refinanced the bond. So that comes out of the debt up here, out of the levy up here, because previously it did not come out because it was taken out before 2005. You add our net new construction, which is 0.348%, very small. Add our new debt payment in. A couple of adjustments are made. This gives us our levy, the levy cap currently of $1,614,395. The override that the board and finance committee are asking this year is $518,160, coming to a levy of $2,132,555. Now, when you go to the next year, that comes to a levy of $2.03 approximately. Now, when you go to figuring for next year, you take your levy for this year, start next year, subtract your debt from the previous year, add your net new construction, add your new debt and your adjustments, coming up with a levy of $2,132,323. Notice that there's no override added in to next year because that override has been factored in as your new starting number. And now again, the following year in 15, page 16 is 203. Again, in 17, you take previous year's levy, add it up here, take off your old debt, subtract that, add your net new construction, and this gives you, add in the new debt payment, your adjustments. Now here's your levy for 17, 203 again. Going up to 18, we do the same thing, take our previous year's levy, subtract the old debt, our net new construction, our new debt payment, adjustments, and here's the levy for 18 of $2,136,485, again, $2.03. Going up to 19, here's our previous year's levy, take off our old debt, our net new construction. Now we've got no debt here anymore, so there's no debt to add. Our adjustments of $3,500, our levy of $1,504,407, the levy at that point down to $1.43, $1.44. Now, what's the bottom line in this for our total tax bill? Last year, the state was up 167,000 plus, county 3.6 million, Liberty Grove 1.5 million, Gibraltar School 2,648,000, NWTC 1,636,000, Utility District 6,100. This year, county is very close, just over 160, or state rather, 160,000. County is very close at 3.6 million. The town here jumps up now to 2,132,553. Gibraltar School goes up about 100,000. NWTC, notice the difference in NWTC from 1.6 million to 742, over $800,000 less. Utility District 13.5, the Public Service Commission number that they request that the utility district put in for their fire protection fee. What does this mean overall now? So, okay, overall, the town has gone up, as we said, to $2.03. That's about a 50-cent increase from last year. The total mill rate last year for everything included, your total tax bill, our total tax bill, $8.68. The proposed mill rate with the override, $8.53. So there's a possibility that our mill rate could actually decrease next year. It depends on the school credits, which don't come in till November 20th. That's a small adjustment, could go either way. We estimated what the credits would be. We're not sure until the 20th. So including the override, the overall tax bill for Liberty Grove could go from $868 to $853. That's the scenario.
That's the scenario. Okay. All right, I think the best way to do this is we'll just go row by row, and if people want to make a comment to the electors, if you'll stand at the podium, state your name and address, and we'll go row by row, and we'll come back if somebody has a second thought, they want to get up there after they see it's not that painful. So. Okay, anybody in the first row, please? Go ahead.
Good evening. Paul Schwengel, 824 Top of the Thumb Lane, Ellison Bay. As John stated, as many of you know, we had a lot of meetings about the Finance Committee, and we had four very well attended informational meetings open to the public and open to any discussion and questions, and I feel we fielded most of them pretty well and made it a much more understood program this year. What we found, and I noticed, was uppermost concern with any of the citizens that attended focus groups or the informational meetings was the roads, which we deem as public works, and debt reduction and elimination. And as Bud pointed out, elimination is on the real near future, and that's a big important part of our budget work. The budget vote tonight to override the state limits on highway expenditures, as well as the vote to override the levy cap, which is item 2, will address these 10-year-old caps. These 10-year-old caps really don't reflect a lot of the economic changes that we've experienced in these 10 years and beyond. We have to look into the future with these numbers also. And as citizens of this community, to provide necessary revenues to keep this town operating, to keep the roads in good shape, we need to approve these overrides and adopt the 2015 budget as presented. And just as a reminder, that something that keeps going past me all the time is the levy cap override only affects your Liberty Grove portion of your taxes. It isn't on your total tax bill. Again, Bud had that pointed out pretty well, that there is a total tax bill, but the part we're voting on tonight is only 17% of your total tax bill. And the other part that I really would like to emphasize is these levy cap overrides need to be voted on and passed by you, the electors, each year. It isn't automatic. It has to be presented each year and voted on. So, thank you very much.
Anybody else, first row, please? I don't argue with Janet. Yes.
Janet Johnson, 11741 Humbug Road. Last year, there was comments made about how their tax bill was so high, but we have no services. So I'd like to point out services that I've identified, and I'm sure that there could be more. Our taxes help pay for a public library. That amount in your tax bill this year and their budget is $30,442. Our taxes also help pay for a fire department. Their budget this year, with a $90,000 capital reserve fund addition, is $319,636. We have snow plowing. We maintain 13 parks. We have road repair and maintenance. We also have water and sewer for those people who live in the utility district. Granted, it's small, but it's there. We have a waste treatment plant that has capacity for holding and septic waste from the town of Liberty Grove. Also in your total tax bill, not just the Liberty Grove portion, we have county police service and we have county EMS service. So the only thing that I can see we're missing is garbage service, which we offered last year at an extremely reasonable price, and it was not unanimously, there was a great deal of, please don't do this, we don't want the service. So I think people maybe don't see the services that their taxes are covering.
Thank you. Anybody else, first row? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Dick Burrows. I actually live in Sister Bay, own 3 pieces of property in Liberty Grove, so I was asked to speak tonight. I know I can't vote, but thank you for the opportunity. I, for 37 years, worked for the Emergency Services Department and traveled the roads of Liberty Grove and the rest of the county. Currently, I'm employed by Gibraltar School District, driving a school bus, and I can tell you that some of the roads in Liberty Grove are in serious need of repair. I understand the budget considerations and the budget constraints that are imposed by the state of Wisconsin, and this is your opportunity to make those changes effective. The repair on those roads, I liken it to someone who has a home and the roof is going bad and they don't want to pay for the roof, but not paying for the roof will result in significant expenditures down the road. So I drive those roads every day. I would encourage you to exceed the limit and expend the money that is necessary to improve those roads. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? First row, please. Second row. Third row? Yes.
Lou Cavazos, 1279 Garrett Bluff Court, Ellison Bay. I too, as John said, am very proud to be associated with the town board, the finance committee, and the staff who has worked very hard in the last 3 months to wring every dollar out of the budget as possible and to be as responsible as possible. We can say a lot of different things, and I've heard Chief Heck say sometimes you have to come to meetings with your big boy and big girl pants on. And that, I think, is what we need to be here today about. Insofar as why this makes sense, we can continue to borrow. The town can borrow up to $50 million if it wants to with no authorization from anyone. It could borrow that much. We don't want to do that. Borrowing is a waste of the town and the taxpayers' money to spend on interest. But the wise thing to do, the big boy and big girl thing to do, is to put money aside in capital funds so that when expenses come, you can pay for them out of your own pocket that you've put aside wisely. If down the road, for example, there's a need for a fire truck or something like that, and the capital expense fund for the fire department is funded, you don't have to go out and borrow and pay interest on that, which is what the town is doing, paying interest. So the smart thing to do, the adult thing to do, is to do what other towns are doing, set that capital, those capital funds aside, whether it's for the fire department or for other capital expenses that we know we're going to have. It doesn't mean we have to buy that. That's up to the town board. But it means at least the money is there for when we need it. And it's easy enough to say we don't want the taxes, let's kick the can down the road and have somebody else pay the interest over the years, but that's not the big boy and big girl thing to do.
Thank you. Excuse me, anybody else in the third row? Fourth row, please.
Beth Coleman, I live at 1581 Ranch Lane in Ellison Bay. And I'd first like to thank the town for how they handled the budgeting process this year. I think it's really one of the first times, and I've lived here for over 25 years now, that I've really seen an effort to give us, the public, as many opportunities to really understand the complexities of what they have to deal with and what we have to consider. So I appreciate the open process. I appreciate that Paul and the committee brought in an outside facilitator to do those listening sessions. So it felt like it was a very fair and very open and I think very healthy process for us as a community to really have that opportunity. So again, I thank the town for that. I also think that as difficult as some of these overrides might feel to our pocketbook, that as we've heard, you really can't put those things off for much longer. And I appreciate the town trying to budget the way many of us have to run our own household budgets. That if I'm trying to think about a roof or a new car, that I really try to set my money aside if I'm able to. And I appreciate that they're really taking a preemptive approach and that they're also trying to reduce debt. So to me, what's being presented to us as a town makes a lot of healthy fiscal sense. And for that reason, I think it's something that we all need to seriously consider.
Thank you. Anybody else, fourth row? Fifth row, please. Yes.
Hi, my name is Susie Watson. I live in Gills Rock. Last year, when the town asked us to vote for a tax increase, the amount was $200,000 ongoing. We voted down that request to exceed the levy cap. This year, the request is to increase the levy by a little over $500,000 forever. No more annual votes for taxpayers to get a chance to discuss this if this is necessary. Tonight will determine this ongoing increase. It's a 35% increase. I think it's interesting that Beth just mentioned about how we handle our own households. I don't know anybody who's making 35% more this year, or anybody that has property that has increased 35% in the last year. And I think that that makes a big difference. And here's an interesting fact when I was researching this. In 2013, Governor Walker vetoed a proposed 1.5% annual levy increase. He said, "I object to creating an automatic increase without knowledge of conditions in future years for taxpayers, counties, and municipalities. The ongoing minimum valuation factor will continue to be 0% as a result of these vetoes." And with that veto, he has protected the citizens from even a small increase without their voted permission. Liberty Grove is asking for a 35% ongoing increase. They do not want to ask for your permission again. I assume many of you are uninformed on this town budget and the many details of it. And I just want to say that this year I attended or watched on YouTube every single meeting and all the finance meetings to be sure that I was doing my homework and my civic duty. And I really feel confident that this budget continues to be larger than it needs to be, and that this board simply could not cut enough non-priority items from the budget. The more money you give them, the more money they will spend. The items that Bud was showing us are assuming no additional loans are being taken out. I don't believe that. Liberty Grove is basically a large rural area. It's not a city, and it's barely a town. So why out of all of Wisconsin does this board need a 35% increase? I say they've not made a convincing case, and I hope you'll vote no. This is your last chance to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Fifth row, please. Sixth row. Yes, please.
Good evening. I'm Kubi Luchterhand. I live at 1540 Old School Road in Ellison Bay. I looked over the budget on the internet this afternoon, and I was amazed that the budget includes $242,500 for capital investment in equipment. That's apparently a big patrol truck and a pickup and a trailer. It also includes some $210,000 more for paving next year than the year before. I thought that was sort of strange. It also includes $70,000 for gravel. Now, I'm maybe not up to speed on this, but the town owns a gravel pit. We used to make a lot of money on gravel. Gravel wasn't costing us anything net. That's back in the old days when I was on this board. There's another couple of other things, but if you just add those three together, that's 242,000, 210,000, and 70,000. 280 and 242 is what, $520,000? That's the override. Seems to me there are ways to cut other places in this budget. I don't really understand all the categories that go into the budget because, in my opinion, they're not all that clear. But it seems to me that the town board is trying to use an outright purchase of trucks instead of borrowing at very favorable interest rates for 5 years to fund them. And it's using a big expenditure on paving and probably a few other things in here too, to jack up the levy. And the levy, as the lady who spoke just a minute ago said, is permanent. Once it's up there, it stays up there. I'm not satisfied that this is a fair presentation of the needs of the town, and I'm planning to vote against it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sixth row? Seventh row? Eighth row? Yes, please.
Nancy Goss, 12020 Timberline Road. As others have talked about, who have spoken favorably about the override, well, first of all, before I start, it's really good to see all of these people here. Whatever happens, it's well represented. We worked hard on the budget, and since the caps were put on in 2005, we have been falling behind, and probably even before that, on our roads. The cost of crushing gravel has gone up. The cost of diesel and fuel has gone up. The cost of electricity in the shop has gone up and every place else. And we can't raise taxes because we're under the cap. So where do we look in the budget for money to keep running the services? We look to the public works or the roads budget because that is our biggest line item. We have over 100 miles of roads. And that's been happening for years, and we've been falling behind. This budget represents not only the extra money that we need to start catching up on our roads, and it's not going to happen overnight because the problem was not created overnight. It also has built into it the opportunity to pay off our debt and to save money for capital expenditures that we know we are going to have to spend for the future, so that we don't have to borrow. A knee-jerk reaction, oh my goodness, we need a new truck. We borrow the money, we pay the interest rate. One of the attendees at one of our informational meetings, who is a retired banker, I believe, said, you may as well take that interest money and send it to somebody out of state because you're throwing it away. The money that's saved towards capital improvements may not be enough at the time we have to make that capital purchase to buy it outright. Hopefully it will be because we are instituting 10-year rolling plans for each department as to what their capital expenditures will be. But if it's not enough, we certainly won't have to, when that expense comes up, we won't have to borrow the entire 100% and pay the interest on that. This budget is one that represents getting Liberty Grove back on its financial feet and on a sound financial path, and I urge you to vote in favor of it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Row 8, please. Row 9. Anyone unfortunate enough back there not to have a chair? Okay, anybody else want to speak at this point in time or not? Yes.
Jeff Weberg, 12695 Highway 42, Gills Rock. I want to thank the people that have worked on this budget process. I'm glad that you've included so many people. And I also appreciate the work both the town board and these committees have done. I think they deserve to be congratulated for it, as well as the town crews. I'm out and about a little bit, more so in the northern area. I watch the crews working. I appreciate the work they're doing and have done. They have always been very friendly, very nice whenever I've met them on the roads, and I sure appreciate the work they've done. I appreciate the way our town is looking. I hope that we'll continue to do what we need to do to keep it looking nice and keep it operative. I will vote yes for this.
Thank you. Anybody else, please? All right, if not, this would be ballot number 1. And it reads, my vote to increase public works expenditures to $1,103,219.51. That would be to exceed the current limit of 5,000 per mile.
Motion and a second.
And we need a motion from the floor for that, please. Is there a second? Mark seconded.
Mark?
Yes, Mark. Jeff made the motion, Mark seconded. Whoops. They're testing our reaction.
Any
All right,
further,
again,
discussion?
pardon?
Any further discussion?
Any further discussion, please? If not, then please mark your ballot. I might have your attention, please. As you can tell, Bud was very nervous about the vote, so he wasn't going to be in the room, but we got him back in here, so. Okay, the result of the vote is yes, 105, no, 20. So we will adjourn the hearing and move on to the special town meeting. Now, the special town meeting is for the purpose of either voting yes or no on the levy override. And on the back of that information sheet that has been handed out would be section B. And if you bear with me while I read this, and everybody can follow along, please. Town of Liberty Grove Resolution 12-14, increase in levy over state imposed limit. Whereas the state of Wisconsin has imposed levy limits under statute 66.0602 of Wisconsin statutes for the tax levies in 2013 and thereafter, whereas section 66.0602 of Wisconsin statutes allows the town electors in towns under 3,000 in population to exceed the maximum allowable limit by adoption of a resolution at a town meeting of the electors. Whereas the town board has adopted a resolution supporting an increase in the town tax levy, which would exceed the maximum allowable state levy limit for the town of Liberty Grove. Whereas this special town meeting of the electors has been called and noticed to consider the adoption of a resolution to endorse the town board's resolution to exceed the state levy limits, specifically by increasing the allowable town tax levy for 2014 collected in 2015 by 35.44%. Now therefore, the special town meeting of the town of Liberty Grove, Door County, Wisconsin, by a majority vote of the eligible electors voting on the 17th day of November 2014, duly assembled and voting resolves and orders as follows. Be it resolved, the town electors of the town of Liberty Grove, Door County, Wisconsin, endorse the town board resolution to increase the town tax levy for 2014, collected in 2015, by 35.44% over the allowable 2014 levy, which is an increase of $518,159.63 over the allowable 2014 town tax levy. This increase shall be ongoing. The town clerk shall properly post the resolution in 3 places, or publish this resolution once in a newspaper as required by law under statute 60.80 of the Wisconsin statutes within 30 days of adoption. I will need a motion to approve resolution 1214. And a second, please? Second. Fred. Mike?
Fred?
And Fred.
Discussion.
Discussion, please? If there is no discussion, then this would be ballot number 2. All right, if I might have your attention, please. All right, the vote on the override has been tallied. Yes, 103, no, 24. All right, we need a motion then to approve the 2014 total town tax levy to be collected in 2015 pursuant to state statute 60.10, parent 1, parent A of the Wisconsin statutes. That amount to be $2,132,553.63. Jeff? Okay, first, who was the second? You. Discussion? This is the final ballot, and that's number 3. Thank you, guys. Chris. Whoever the other guy was. You know what we started with? John Scott.
I saw him wander back, but maybe it wasn't him.
Scottsburg. No, don't disappear in here.
Yes. So what do you feel?
You gotta go to
These in their little,
Yeah, I think so. I Well, we've got a special board meeting right after. All right, if I might have your attention, please. The result of the vote to approve the 2014 town tax levy, yes 108, no 16. So it passes. Thank you. And I want to thank everybody for coming. We appreciate the attendance tonight. It's been great to see this. And on behalf of the board and the administration, I would like to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. We need a motion to adjourn, please. Dick, second. All in favor? Thank you much.
job.
I see. Oh, I know.